Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us. My name is Amanda Kramer, and I am the Alumni Engagement Program Manager at the University of Colorado Boulder's Leeds School of Business. Welcome to our 9th webinar series. We have certainly faced some trying times over the past year and a half, and here at CU Boulder, we have gathered our world-renowned faculty and alumni to provide frank and timely insights to help you learn and navigate these times. Today is the final webinar in this webinar series. To view upcoming webinars, please visit our website at colorado.edu/business/alumni, click the drop-down arrow and click Attend Online Webinars. For today's webinar, we're so excited to welcome Vicki Shapiro, who is here presenting The Dating Renaissance, How COVID-19 Has Changed How We Date. A few housekeeping items before we begin. First, if you have any questions now or during the presentation that you would like to ask Vicki, please send a question through the Q&A interface. We will monitor questions as they are submitted, and Vicki will respond to them at the end of the presentation. As a reminder for optimal audio quality, we do have everyone on mute except for myself and our speaker. If you experience any technical difficulties during the webinar, please notify us through the chat interface, and one of our support specialists will touch base. Lastly, a link to access the webinar recording will be sent to all registrants tomorrow, along with the survey link and supplemental resources from today's presentation. Now I'm excited to introduce today's speaker. Vicki Shapiro, a CU Boulder alumna, is Vice President of Global Marketing for Match Media Group. As Vice President of Global Marketing for Match Media Group, Vicki works with leading brands to bring their messaging to life across the portfolio of dating apps, including Tinder, Cupid, Match, Plenty of Fish, and more, connecting brands to some of the world's most social and engaged consumers. With over 15 years of experience developing marketing programs, Vicki oversees the creative and research teams to support the sales staff worldwide. In addition, Vicki works closely with the product teams to ensure her partners continue to be offered the best in emerging technology. Before joining Match Media Group, Vicki worked as VP of Digital for the sports division at Madison Square Garden. Welcome, Vicki, and thank you so much for being here. I'm going to hand the webinar over to you now.
That was such a kind intro, and I'm so happy and honored to be here. I wish it wasn't over Zoom. I'm sure we're all sort of tired of logging in, but I'll do my best to make this fun and engaging, and I look forward to questions. And it's not too serious of a topic, but the hope is that everyone walks away learning something. So I will jump in. So I just want to start out by saying a lot of people don't realize the Match Group is the umbrella company of a majority of the dating apps. So if you think back into 1995, you have Match.com, which was sort of the OG. You can sort of picture a desktop, people filling out pages of profiles, putting in a credit card, and off they go. But fast forward to 2012, Tinder sort of reinvented that, and we moved to a mobile first dating app. And that was, really low barrier to entry. People just put out a picture, maybe a few words, and you're off with a swipe right, swipe left. And that was a big game changer. So we sort of shifted how that worked. And, online dating is the new norm. 1 in 3 marriages are ignited through our app. So it's kind of a fun space to be in. And just so you understand the breadth of it, I want to show you guys a quick, sort of like a sizzle reel, so you can kind of feel what we do, and then I'll keep moving. Oops, sorry. Okay, so yeah, before we dive in, hopefully that gives you a sense of sort of the breadth of apps that we do have. I wanted to define my role at the company just so you understand. I'm not creating algorithms and I'm not diving into the back end research, but my team, as sort of Amanda alluded to, is helping brands get on the platform. So if you're McDonald's and you have some money that you want to target, a Gen Z audience, we will lay that out for you. And it's nice because we have a array of options and ad products that are very, they're not just, disruptive. They're very native to the platform. So, and the beautiful thing about our job is that most of these apps are not reliant on the advertising business. So a lot of the revenue is driven through subscriptions. So that is, if you do want to spend and amp up your profile, that's where the dollars come in. So we are very precious about the brands that we offer, and it's not a cluttered environment. So I will just kind of give you the baseline of my role. And then, our sandbox is full of a lot of different tools. It's nice. Like I said, today we're going to focus on that sweet spot of 18 to 35, which is that falls in the Gen Z audience. And you'll find Tinder, Cupid, and Hinge really living in that space in a big way. But then as you hit the 50 plus, there's apps like Our Time that really cater to that audience. And not to say that you're not going to find a 50 plus year old on Tinder, but your pool will probably be better on one of the apps below. So it's just nice to see that we have a solution for every age. And most of our businesses, they do operate on their own. We're not, sharing staff or ideas. It's a lot of siloed business. And like I said, we want to really focus on that sweet spot. So Tinder as the example and the crown jewel of being the largest, you can just see the breadth here. It's 196 countries, there's 74 million downloads in 2020. So that's kind of amazing. And people engaging 11 times per day and 79.6 billion minutes of time on these apps. I mean, just think about that in terms of how large the scope is. So now I want to talk to you about how COVID has sort of impacted our business, and we'll dive right in. So if you think about our apps, we are in the business of getting people to meet in real life. So imagine when COVID hit and it was sort of a shock. We were all a little bit scratching our heads. What do we do? How do we handle it? But safety is the priority always on our app. So we knew that we had to get that message out there. Wash your hands, carry a mask, keep your distance. And that was a no-brainer. But I think, anyone that you talk to at my company, I know that I was like, oh no, now what? We're in the business of love and bringing people together. So we sort of navigated a new world. But the good news is that we saw users flood back. Obviously in March, that initial COVID announcement, we saw a slight dip, but actually we saw a 16% increase in members over COVID. We saw that hockey stick growth. And I'm going to share with you sort of how we engage with them. But just so you see, like very few businesses, I think, were able to grow, and we were one of them, which was really a positive and showed our ability to kind of power through. So the big game changer for us was video. So video sort of came to the top of the stack for a lot of these apps. And, if you look at Tinder, it was a one-on-one communication. If you look at Plenty of Fish, you could do a live stream to one-to-many. We also, created ways to vibe check someone before you got on that video. Like, are you going to want to get on with someone that, maybe has a pet over someone that, likes to run outside? So really sort of giving users that craving of emotional connection through face-to-face. You're no longer at the bar. So how do you get to see someone, talk to someone, hear their voice, understand them? So this was the game changer for us, video across all platforms. And the good news is we realized that people and our members really loved it. We are in our 10th year of a Singles in America dating study. So we have over 50,000 people that we survey. And these are not people that are on our apps. These are people that are, just single, period. And we found out that 50% of people fell in love with the video date. They used it to determine if they wanted to date in real life. And 69% said they wanted to do it again. And also interesting, Hinge did their own study, and they sort of expected 30 minutes or less on a video date. People are going to kind of get rid of it. But they realized 50% of all users did the video date, and it lasted for over an hour. So that kind of engagement was like, whoa, that's amazing. People liked it. So not only were they on these video dates, but we found out that they didn't like to just sit there and chat. A lot of people would share an activity, play a game. A lot of people just had made dinner, shared a drink. People even went as far as watching movies and shows together. I mean, we have data that says, you know, if you binge the same shows, you're more likely to match up. So people got into it. And in spite of all of that and the pandemic, we continued to innovate. It wasn't just with video. So some of the ways that we did that was with Tinder, we launched prompts. So a lot of, like I said, on Tinder, you can upload photos, swipe, but beyond the photo prompts, so you could upload a question, you know, cats or dogs or Biden or Trump, you know, you could get as deep as you wanted to help you figure out who you wanted to kind of chat with. And then the sticker was a big innovation. You'll see on this one, it says, I voted, which is, you know, a lot of people, if you're not a voter, maybe they don't want to talk to you. And now, even today, we have a badge that says I'm vaccinated. So it's a really a true identifier of who you are. And it's a nice way to just put it in the forefront. We also talk about alibis in dating, like giving someone an alibi to reach out. So Hinge launched roses. It was a way to hand a rose to someone and say, I like you, before you knew they liked you. So it wasn't that, you didn't have to sit back and wait. You could sort of put it out there right away. And then Cupid sort of took the charge and the lead with the badge on Black Lives Matter. That was a huge thing to people, and being able to share that front and center was great. I mean, I don't know if I want to put on lipstick for someone that doesn't believe in the cause. So it allowed people to kind of identify that right up front. And then Stacks was another big one. Stacks is something that, you know, if you're a huge marathon runner and you love sports, or if you're really into politics, or, you know, you would be put in stacks and swiping through those specific matches. So it really allowed you to narrow the focus. Again, this is really helping us with our engagement, innovation, and speaking to what our members wanted. So how do we know, like, what happened? What did people do and change during the pandemic? And we really saw a shift. 58% of people were more intentional dating. It wasn't about, you know, swiping through 50 profiles and, you know, hey you up. It was more about getting to know someone. What qualities are you looking for? Prioritizing love. The Gen Z audience said they really were less focused on that physical attraction, and they really wanted to have the more meaningful relationships. And that's a huge positive for us. I mean, I think a lot of times these apps get, you know, pigeonholed into like just people wanting to hook up, but it's so much more than that. And it's like the fundamentals of just wanting to find that connection. And that's what we were coming back to. COVID cannot kill Cupid, and we found that out. People started, you know, they were still wanting to date. They started to date people that they knew casually during COVID. Some people started a new relationship, and some people rekindled with an ex because they just wanted to be with someone. And, you know, the big learning was that 2 out of 3 people really just wanted to date again. And so the fact that they wanted to date again and they wanted to shift their perspective into something really what was more important to them was a fun finding for us. So, and then, you know, as singles gravitated to our apps, we knew we were doing the right thing, just because we saw the numbers. They speak for themselves. You know, messages and swipes at Tinder were in the double digits. Matches on OkCupid increased by 10%. You know, messages per day increased by 30%. On Hinge, you know, 30% increase in messages among, you know, compared to the last March, which is pretty incredible. And then we facilitated more dates in August and September 2020 than the year prior. Plenty of Fish saw that 1 in 5 people were using their live streaming feature. So going back to that video, like the craving of the human connection. And then overall, 34% of people were using our apps, which is not a huge shock. I mean, this is, as we say, the new normal. So we were really encouraged to see the numbers and backing up what we were doing. So not only were we reinventing, sort of the product itself, but we had to reinvent how we engaged with our users, and that created some really fun and new partnerships. So Passport is a feature that we give to premium members, so you have to pay for it. So ultimately, that means you can passport into a different town, country. If you're in New York and you want to meet someone in LA, if you're in Tokyo and you want to meet someone in London, and you could just change your profile and be there. So we opened that up for users during COVID because, maybe not everyone's looking for love, but I'm sure you saw a lot of the, pandemic impact on people's livelihood. It wasn't healthy to be so alone. So we opened it up and people started talking to each other, checking in on your peers in India, how things going there. And not only did we do that, but we had a Duolingo partnership that allowed people to learn a different language, say I love you in French. So we made it fun and engaging. So that's just an example of how we thought about it. In addition, further down the line, as things started like freeing up a little bit, Everwell and Tinder did a partnership where they gave away free COVID testing kits. So we knew that a lot of people were stuck at home with mom and dad, and they were saying goodbye to their social lives, and it was not fun. So we saw a spike and go on a date hit an all-time high in Tinder bios. So this was kind of a really great partnership, allowing people to get a COVID test and feel a little bit more, good about getting back out there. Not to say that they didn't have to take their masks off, but they just wanted that, second opinion. And, I don't know, a lot of you may have read, we partnered with the White House. The White House came to our apps and said, let's get the word out there on vaccinations. This is the prime audience. And so that really validated what we do too, in terms of reach and the clout that our apps do have out in the real world. So here we are today, we're in the summer, and I think the new term is vaxxed and waxed, hot girl summer. You've heard it all, it's out there, people are ready and they're excited. So what does it look like now? What is dating and how are we thinking about it? So Tinder did a whole study, and it was about the future of dating. We came away with some really key takeaways. And like I said, daters want to be more honest and authentic. They're more truthful. I think today you see a lot of Instagram and a lot of, is that really what they're saying? People were willing to be vulnerable and willing to say how they were feeling. And that's a really nice thing. So we also found that boundaries became more transparent. People felt more comfortable, like asking if you were wearing a mask, asking for consent. We saw those words sort of rise up in profiles. So safety was, as it always is, became more important to people. And, 16% of people asked for consent to touch someone. The hug was no longer just a let's hug, and when we see each other, it was sort of like, are you cool with this? More people wanted to see where things go, which was interesting. People didn't want to get on the app and find a relationship. They were open to see what happens. A number of daters looking for no particular type of relationship was up 50%. And I think that, people were really intentional about what they wanted. So they were willing to take the time and find out more, which was nice to see, and that we could allow them that. Digital dates, that's not going away. It's the new normal. People, as we saw, people really enjoyed it. Video chat is part of the Gen Z, dating now. 1 in 3 were willing to do more virtual dates, and they're going to continue to do it. It's sort of a prelude to the real date. Why not, right? Don't waste anyone's time. Also, first dates are not about going to the bar anymore. Activities are the new icebreakers. So 20% wanted to do that virtual date. And then we saw an increase in things like roller skating and bios. I mean, people want a picnic, they wanted to go for walks, they wanted to take an art class. So it just, the first date is definitely rethought, which is nice. And then we saw a term called like skin hungry. People wanted to get back to like being touched and cuddle and hand holdings. So those terms started trending up. After 18 months of no physical contact, I think we saw that people really craved it. So, and then interesting that a lot of people moved back home, young adults, 52% were living with their parents by July. So people sort of wanted to be with like-minded people close by. If you were in a long distance relationship, that didn't really help you. So this trend suggests that there won't be, a surge in long distance relationships. People want someone close by that they can sort of count on and know that they'll be there. And then, as we say, it's the summer of love. People are ready to go back on dates. It hit an all-time high in February 2021. 54% of singles, I said that they're ready to get back out there as soon as there's more vaccinations. So, in the past, we had a term called Dating Sunday, which was the first Sunday after New Year. So it was the highest spike in all dating apps because the thinking is you're home for the holidays and your parents were like, why are you single? What's happening? And now they're saying that Dating Sunday, or, the highest dating percentages are going to be this summer because the vaccination rates are going to go up and people are going to get back out there and they're going to be on the dating apps. So get ready. And then, if you just look at the way that we're connecting post-COVID, it's kind of amazing. It's on the dating app. So we saw on Tinder 11% more swipes per member, 42% more matches. Vaccination mentions have increased by 8 times. We talked about that badge before, people identifying themselves. And then in March of 2020, we saw swipe activity break 3 billion in a single day. So that's the first time that happened, which is kind of amazing. It's 130 times more than last year at the same time. So, wow, right? So I think our CEO said it best, despite the pandemic, our users, they like engagement. Engagement is up, proving what we've always known. Our product satisfies very critical human need, and those needs are not going away. People want a connection. It doesn't have to lead to marriage. It doesn't have to lead, to more than a first date, but people are craving a connection. So I just wanted to kind of baseline it back to what I do and maybe share a little insight on how that's changed, because it's sort of interesting as well. If you think about travel, that whole category for us went away in terms of advertising. So I'm sure you're familiar with House Party. That was an app that allowed people to, engage through fun games and video. So that came up for us. Gyms were closed, so a lot of online fitness was the rage. So Obey Fitness was a big partner for us. And then, constant advertisers like beer, Heineken, those are the people that were encouraging you to go buy the first beer at a bar. But that messaging shifted to sort of like burn the pickup line and pick up a can and take it home. So our team was sort of helpful with the data that I shared with you today, sort of crafting those messages for partners. How can we do this better? How can we cater to this audience now that everyone's at home? So it's sort of a unique way to look at it. And then I just wanted to share a fun meme, like how it started. You think about brands, like Adidas here with the home team, sort of leaning into that stay home messaging. And then if you've seen the extra campaign, which is one of my favorites right now, it's people tearing off the pizza boxes and getting out in the park and making out. And, the second you go on your first real date after a lockdown, you make sure you have your extra. So sort of like where we've been, how it's going, kind of fun to think about. And then there's something in the dating world we call cuffing season. So that's October, February. People get excited to find their person and watch movies and stay home when the weather gets a little colder generally. And so we're saying this is going to be a fun extended cuffing season because people are ready. And that, sort of brief, but to the point. I don't know if you guys have questions, but I wanted to just share some fun stats and then open it up. Amanda, does that work for you guys?
That sounds great. Thank you so much for that insightful information. And again, we invite anybody who is on the Zoom here to please submit a question through the Q&A feature. We already have some questions coming in, so we'll start there. Israel asks, do you have any insights on potential longevity of these relationships that are coming out of COVID or with online dating in general?
Yeah, it's a good question. We do have stats that people that meet online are less likely to go through a divorce because they're more intentional and I don't have the exact number, but it is something that we have found. I don't think we have the numbers specifically coming out of COVID, but online daters typically seem to be in longer lasting relationships due to that sort of intentional, taking their time. There's something, a term that we call slow love instead of, if you think back and I don't know, when my parents met, it was like a very blueprint process of you meet someone, you get married and, you have babies. And now I think this audience, this Gen Z, the younger audience is taking their time and being a little bit more intentional, which leads to longer relationships.
That absolutely makes sense.
Mhm.
Thank you for that there. And next, we had a question from Maria. Could you tell us more about how these sites screen for people who might have criminal intent?
Mm. Yeah, I mean, that's a huge thing for, a huge priority for all our apps. And we have a whole team of security and privacy and data and that are focused on that. And like I said, I can't even get into all the intricacies of it, but it's a huge priority. And if you think about how the apps have evolved and what they do to protect the consumer, for example, photo verification. So, you can't just get online and pretend you're someone else. You can look for that blue check and know that you're talking to the person that says who they are. We just launched something that allows users to block phone numbers. If you're getting someone, kind of a creepy vibe, you can turn them off. And then, there is a whole safety center on the app where you can go. And if you're going on a date and want to feel safe, what are tips that can do that? If you want to let someone know where you are, how can you highlight that? So it's a huge focus, and we always want our members to feel safe. And there is a team that is, before you can even get your profile live, it's looked at, and so much appreciated and a huge priority.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. This next question comes from Stacy. Are there specific apps that cater towards different categories of people? Like, for example, I've seen an app, dedicated toward farmers, and that may have been the stack that you mentioned in one of the slides, but that is a question that we have here.
Yeah, I mean, you might have seen it a little bit in the Sizzle Reel that I showed, but yeah, we absolutely have apps. We have an app called Chispa, which is for, the Hispanic audience. We have a app called BLK for African Americans. And so even like in our affinity products, there's, Christian people meet. So if you want to get that specific about your dating life, there's absolutely an app that can cater to you. And so, yeah, you'll probably see more of that pop up too, but yeah, and not to say that like most of our apps are, friendly for all. We say we serve a society, a global society. We have a spectrum of age, race, gender, sexual orientation, different relationship goals. So, most of our apps are happy to kind of zone in on what you're looking for, but we do have ones that are really just focused on one audience as well.
Okay, great. Thank you for that information. Let's see here. Next, we have a question from Sandra. She said, could you tell us again what the names of the dating apps for 70 plus were, or 50 plus actually? And then can you address what the dating app experience might mean to older generations versus the younger generations?
Yeah, I mean, I think our time is probably the one for that 50 plus that I would recommend for anyone, in their older age bracket. And then, we see, like I said, my focus is more on the Gen Z, but I would say for the older audience, it's not something that was sort of like embarrassing anymore. It's how you meet people. So, sometimes I'll look at our press clippings and there's some really awesome articles on, marriages of people in their 70s that met online and they had relocated to a new place, and that's how they met. And it's so sweet because, again, safety is a priority, but, sometimes their grandchildren will be helping them, or it's just a way to like going back to that human need of connection, even if they're not looking to get married again. It's a great outlet for people to sort of start reintroducing dating to their life.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Thank you very much for that. Let's see here. Next, we have a question from Elizabeth who asks, what are some tips to date more consciously on apps that have a swiping style?
Yeah, I mean, I think that goes back to sort of I mean, I have so many fun dating tips for people that want to get into it, but I think you have to, I love reading a profile and asking questions. It's like, I say to my friends, if you want to get on an app, I focus like 30 minutes out of your day and be really conscious about it, and like don't get into that habit of like every 10 minutes swiping. I think you have to sort of read, engage, ask questions, and then utilize the features. So like I said, if there's someone that doesn't believe, on OkCupid, if you can you can say, I don't believe in global warming. So like, again, do you want to put on lipstick for someone that really isn't going to believe in a cause that you're very serious about? So I think it's worth sort of investing in kind of figuring out a little bit more before waste your time.
Those are absolutely great tips. And it actually, that segues really nicely into the last question that we have here, which is from Jim, who said, for someone who's hesitant about jumping into online dating, what advice do you have?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like I said, it's the new normal. So there's nothing to be scared of. I mean, everybody is on it. So like, if you want to be dating, I think you're silly not to be on one of these apps. And then just ease into it. And like I said, it's the goal here isn't for everyone to be married. There's people here that, we have so many fun stories of someone in Antarctica that swiped once and met the only other person on Tinder, or someone that was looking, to date, but actually found a kidney donor on Tinder. So like everybody is on it for different reasons, and everybody, there's no judgment, there's double opt-in, there's something for everyone, and just have fun with it. Don't take it too seriously if you're in the beginning, and don't be afraid. And everybody, it goes back to that human need. Everybody wants it, so why not you? Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's so interesting to hear about the different connections, as you mentioned there, someone finding a kidney that can come out of, the human connection that happens on these
Yep.
apps,
Yeah.
which is fantastic. And it looks like I want to address, we had one more question come in, and I know you've already answered this, but we'll just answer it one more time. Conrad asked, again, he's a dater over 50 who's on match.com right now. Could you repeat the name one more time of the 50 plus dating app?
Yeah, it's Our Time. So I'll go back
Our
if you
Time.
guys
Oh,
can see
great.
this.
We can see the logo there.
Um, yeah, so in the bottom right there, it's the #1 dating site for singles. So you should find it easily.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much to everyone for joining us for today's presentation, and a special thank you again to Vicki for this great and insightful information. At this time, we invite everyone on the Zoom to provide feedback on the webinar by answering the following poll question. On a scale from 1 to 10, how likely are you to recommend this webinar to a friend or other CU Boulder alumni? We thank you in advance for submitting your feedback. As a reminder, all webinar attendees will receive an email tomorrow with a link to the recording of this presentation as well as a survey. To view upcoming webinars as well as previous recordings, please visit our website at colorado.edu/business/alumni. Please note that we are pausing webinars for the remainder of the summer, but we hope to see you again this fall. In the meantime, have a great rest of your day. Thank you for your time, and go Buffs.